Hey everybody, it's Craig from 9 Volt Games, and today I want to talk about Resident Evil 2. The original Resident Evil 2, because obviously Resident Evil 2 Remake drops this week. Now, it's hard to say. Pretty much every channel is probably saying it right now, right? Resident Evil 2 was my favorite Resident Evil. No, Resident Evil 2 really was my favorite Resident Evil. And not only was it my favorite Resident Evil, it was one of the first one of the first games I bought with my own money. I remember this because I had to do chores, not chores. I can even say that. Like, I grew up in a house that gave you money for doing chores and allowances. It didn't work like that. My father owned a construction and general contracting company and landscaping, and I had to do that in order to get an allowance. So basically just had a job when you weren't legally supposed to have a job. But one of the first games that I bought was Resident Evil 2. And I could play that game today. And some of you have seen it. I played it in streams. I played it in videos multiple times. This looks really swollen. I can pick it up and I can actually be talking and answering questions on the screen and be playing Resident Evil, and it just on full autopilot. I could probably speedrun that game very quickly, still to this day. I used to play it all the time. When I bought this, I think I beat it so many times. I tried the Akuma challenge, which turned out to be fake. Which I just saw someone saying, petitioning Capcom that they should be putting Akuma in a new one. And I think they should for people like me. But I remember the first time I unlocked Hunk and the first time I unlocked Tofu. And it was like one of my greatest gaming achievements. And then actually beating, the Tofu Survivor one. That was another one of my greatest gaming achievements. I loved this game. I liked the first one. And the first one was scary, when it came out. Obviously now it's laughable, and that's why we have Remake, and Remake's good and took the place of it being a good, scary zombie game. But Resident Evil 2, in comparative to 1, it wasn't so much as scary as Resident Evil 1 was. Because once you beat a scenario A and B with Claire, whatever way you do it, and then you start to figure out, certain things like, oh, I can get this weapon, and if I run through and I get the special key off of Brad's body with Claire, I get the Colt SAA, and that makes the game substantially easier, at least from that point forward. It wasn't scary in the sense that Resident Evil was scary that you're always gonna run out of ammo. And there's a sense of dread and blah, blah, blah. There wasn't. Until you got to Mr. X. Which I don't think they've ever named him that, by the way. And we all call him that, and there's no official name, right? He's just a tyrant. But there wasn't, and that was the prototype for Resident Evil. So, for Nemesis. So what I enjoyed about this game is, obviously it took Resident Evil 1 and it improved upon it 100 times. But it also set out for, in my opinion, it set the foundation for what were some of the greatest Resident Evil games. I mean, I don't like it so much nowadays, but when Resident Evil Code Veronica came out, that was one of my favorite games. And it's not just because I had it on the Dreamcast and I was trying to justify the purchase at the time, which the Dreamcast is awesome and didn't really need justification. But it had Claire. So anything that had its hands, or Resident Evil 2's hands in it, I wanted to play. So Code Veronica was phenomenal to me. And like I said, Resident Evil Nemesis is probably my second favorite Resident Evil game. And I had the Nemesis monster, which, you first had with Mr. X. And then Resident Evil 4, which if you don't think that Resident Evil 2 if Resident Evil 2 isn't your favorite Resident Evil, it's probably Resident Evil 4. More than likely. As far as the modern games go, I think that Resident Evil 4 is the best. Still, I'm sure I don't know how I'm gonna do this when the remake comes out, but yeah, I don't know, man. I felt like the story was good. It was way more expansive. It was nice that, it was still the same formula, whereas you're not going to multiple various locations. I mean, you are, but you aren't. You're going through the police station, the sewer, and the laboratories, but what I liked about it is, it was something new. I felt like the mansion in the first game was just kind of, I don't know, it was bland. And after the first time I played it, I was like, all right, there's no like secrets anymore. Resident Evil starts you off in an open city. Whether, it obviously gives the illusion that it's open. It's not open. It's very linear on where you can go. But back when this game came out, you started outside and you made your way to the police station. And it gave the illusion that you were in this big city with this crisis happening. And they did the best that they could with it, you know, and they made it look good with those pre-rendered backgrounds and such. And you even got to interact with other people before you even got into the police station, you know. And I thought that was cool. It's like, because you got to see, well, I mean, it was only one other person, obviously, while you were going to meet Claire. Was the gun shop owner. And I can't wait to see how that plays out. And I know that doesn't happen immediately in the new one. But I've played, like I said, I've played this game so many times that I know it like the back of my hand, and I know when things are supposed to happen. So it makes the Resident Evil 2 remake that much more exciting for me, because I know when things are supposed to happen, and then I know that's not when they're going to happen. Or they might, because I heard that the liquor thing still might be a fake out. I'm not sure. But the gun store owner, you know, you got to meet somebody, and if you did things properly, you got to kill Brad, who was, you know, the asshole pilot who took off from you in Resident Evil 1, and then he was also in 3, obviously, because we found out how he met his demise and ended up under there in the first place. Marvin, Ben, Ada, Sherry, those are all other characters that were, you know, incorporated in the game that were fantastic. And then one of my favorite parts ever, and this was ridiculous, and this monster has never made an appearance again. One of my favorite monsters, and every one of us, you took them out the same way. You didn't have to, I assume. I never even tried, I don't think. You could, everybody went down to the sewers and fought the alligator, and you press a button, and you release the tank, and you blew it up in the alligator's mouth. An alligator like that hasn't made another appearance. I mean, we had the mutated type of alligator that was in Resident Evil 4, which I thought was awesome, but it wasn't the same. You were in a trapped area. That one you were on the lake. But this was I don't know, man. It was so good. I have so many good memories for it, and it's hard to go back to and play because it doesn't age well. And the tank controls, you know, if they weren't your thing, if you weren't around when tank controls were a thing, they're just not. They're not easy to do, I assume. They're second nature to someone who's my age who went through and played these. I guess they're not preferable. I have no preference. But oh, there's another thing I want to talk about, because I shared this cover variant, which is not the I can't even say cover variant, this version, and that's not the DualShock version. And my cousin commented, he's like, "Oh, it's not the DualShock version. No extreme battle mode for you." But I do. I mean, I have. This has come out on so many things, but the extreme battle mode was the thing I was never really a fan of. I know that's kind of productive when I'm saying that I like the tofu and hunk scenarios, but that was different. That was like something that you earned, you know, throughout the game, and like prerequisites you did, and you can unlock things in extreme battle mode, but it's not the same. Like, extreme battle mode wasn't something I don't like timers. I don't. Not when it's a big part of the gameplay. And yes, I know, again, tofu and hunk, that's different. That wasn't a main like thing. That was just a fun scenario to play. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the EX battle mode, or you know, I can't believe it got its own game on 3DS, the Mercenaries 3D. But, you know, if that is your thing, they put it in here. I can't imagine they would not put it in the remake, but maybe I'll feel differently about it. I don't know, probably not. But yeah, as far as he was talking about versions, in DualShock version, and I'm really bummed out because when I was a kid, I had a Resident Evil 2 hard copy on the PC. And that was a launch hard copy on PC, a long box copy, and I had a copy on Dreamcast, and I had a copy on GameCube. They're all gone, and I think they're worth money now, so that's extra, you know, whatever. But I'm happy that I have it on I have the PlayStation 2 hard copy, original PlayStation 2 hard copy, and I have you know, the Resident Evil 2 on the N64, and then I have the DualShock versions on PlayStation 3. I have the DualShock versions of all of them on PlayStation 3. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just, there's so many great feels that come with Resident Evil 2 that I mean, I've done videos on this before, so it's hard. I've streamed it. I've done multiple videos on Resident Evil 2 and I streamed it, so it's hard to talk about. I would say things that I haven't said before, so hopefully it shows you, if you're new, all the other videos that I do have for this. But there's just some iconic scenes in it that lament it as the greatest Resident Evil, to me at least, is I'll never forget the first time that you saw a liquor. Like, that was a lot of people think of a Resident Evil iconic moment. I'll say it here for me then. A lot of people think of a Resident Evil iconic moment and they think of the zombie in the first hallway in you know, that you walk down solo in Resident Evil 1, and they think of the zombie turning his head, the bald white one, right? And that scene's so iconic that when it was remade on Remake, like, it just blew everybody away. That's not the iconic scene for me. Resident Evil 2 has the most iconic scene for me because something that's said in it that I have carried with me my entire life, and anyone who knows me in person who sees this part, you know exactly what I'm talking about, is when, you know, it doesn't matter if you're Leon or Claire, it plays out the same way, but I do it with Leon. When he's walking down that hallway, and then, you know, you hear the noises and you see the liquor climbing and he's like sliding across the ceiling, and then he opens his mouth and the tongue starts to come out. Leon says, "Oh boy." That's the way he said it. Like, the voice acting in this was shitty too. It was obviously better than 1, but the way he says it, "Oh boy." I use that in real life now. When someone tells me about a situation that's just so out of the, you know, like, you want to detach yourself from it. Like, if someone's talking about something horrible that happened in their personal relationship and it doesn't involve you, my first reaction is, "Oh boy." And I've done that since this game came out. I've done that. That's been my automated response for something that I don't want to be part of or something really awful. And I've done it at inappropriate times and whatnot, and I don't know. I fully attribute it to this. It's the inflection of the way I say it. Most people will get it through a text message or, you know, a comment or whatever. I'll write, "Oh boy." Just know that that is the way that I'm saying it. I know I've commented it back to people on this video, but now every time you see that, you're gonna hear Leon's voice. So yeah, that was my most iconic scene. And then I think, you know, the final it's not spoiling anything because this game's old as fuck. The final version of William Birkin, you know, on the train, that was one of my favorites. And then that was such a huge letdown in the movie when they tried to emulate that, and it just wasn't that. They tried to emulate, they tried to make an evolving liquor, and it didn't, that was irritating. That was like when they used Pyramid Head in the Silent Hill movie. You didn't need to, but you did. I mean, there's parts that were cool, but that was it. I don't know. So let me hear your thoughts. Obviously, I just told you 2 of my favorite. The whole game's my favorite. There's so many good parts. When the liquor breaks out of the interrogation room window, like, come on. When you're walking down that hallway that's near the interrogation room and you're in scenario B and Mr. X busts through the fucking wall, get out. And that part made it into the remake. You know what? I want to save some of these because I want to talk about it while I do the stream. And I will be streaming Resident Evil this Friday as soon as I can. And it's going to be on and off during the day, you know, when I sleep or whatever, when I have time, because I have to work and then come home, take a nap, go pick up my Resident Evil. And then I'm going to stream just any opportunity that I have. But I want to talk about these moments in Resident Evil 2 while I do the stream. So that's it. Tell me your favorite Resident Evil 2 moments below. Thank you guys for watching.